I'm here with actor Peter Romano, who plays EMT Bradley on New Amsterdam, which is currently wrapping up its first season. And he will be in the finale, which you can watch on May 14th.
Yeah.
So before we talk about New Amsterdam, let's, since I gave everyone the background.
Yeah, there it is. That's all I had.
That's all you need to know. Thanks for coming, Peter. When did you first decide that you wanted to become an actor and pursue it as a full-time career, something serious, not just like a dream?
So I, somewhere after college, I went to NYU for undergrad and studied acting there. And then when I got out, I was like, all right, I got to make some money. So I actually became an EMT for realsies, and and I did that for like about a year. And somewhere in the middle of that year, I was auditioning for little stuff here and there. I was doing shows with like small companies, theater, and I was like, you know what, like I need to get the next leg up. So then I decided to audition for grad schools, and I found my way to Columbia, and and then it was pretty much that kind of crossroads. I was like, as much as I like patient care, it's not my passion.
I was just going to say, speaking of putting your working knowledge behind a character, what made you want to become an EMT, and like what kind of stuff did you see? Did it like freak you out at all?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Too much stuff. But it was a couple of things. One was just convenience. I was in a relationship at the time, and my partner was like, "Oh, you should do this class with me," because she was pre-med or something like that. And I was like, "Okay, sure, why not? I got nothing to do in the fall. Like, I'll take it. Why not? I might like it." And I was like, "I don't really like blood. Like, I don't know if I could do this thing." But like, I got over it, and eventually I was like, "Oh, I could do this." And I ended up working, and she didn't. She didn't work as an EMT.
Hence the reason, former partner, right?
Yeah, well, I mean...
Now we're going real deep. I want to know details now.
That's a separate interview.
Yeah, that is. That's the after show.
But yeah, and then I was like, oh, this is what I like about acting, which is empathy, and like what I like about being able to do that for audiences and that kind of connection. I got doing that job, and it was the same kind of rush, like, when we would go lights and sirens to an emergency, it's the same rush I would get when the camera's rolling, right before they say action, or right before you walk out on stage in the wings. It's that same kind of adrenaline.
Yeah.
And, except I was like, okay, but let me use my powers for good, kind of, and let me put it towards a different way,
So you ended up going to NYU, you said?
Columbia for grad.
Columbia, and then you went to NYU for
undergrad.
Undergrad, right?
Yeah.
So that's when you started pursuing the acting, right, at Columbia?
Yeah, for like all professional intents and purposes. Yeah.
As opposed to what, like the Craigslist videos you were doing before that?
Well, no, or just like the hobby. I don't know.
No, I'm teasing you.
You know what I mean, though. Like, some people, it's their hobby. It's not their, and it's still a passion, but it's not their profession. And I was really like, no, I want this to be my profession. So I was taking that step.
Now I know you did a lot of theater.
Yeah.
Or you've done a lot of theater up to this point. When you first were deciding what you wanted to do as an actor, was theater your not ending point, but was that your focus in the beginning, or did you want to do all three since you live in New York?
Well, I did want to do all three but I didn't know I wanted to until I started to try more. I would dabble in film and TV stuff, and then I was like, okay, now I really want to do all three, because I always thought I would like acting in film, but there were opportunities that were like student films and smaller kind of opportunities, so it was just a taste here and there, but theater was really my passion. It still is.
Did you like the immediate rush of it? Is that why you and like just doing it in front of somebody where you can get a reaction?
Well, I think it's also that I get to really tell the story as you get to be your own editor in theater. Like, I think of it that way. In film, the editor is the one who's like crafting that final narrative. In theater, it's actor driven, and there's a stamina and a discipline that comes with that I really respected. And all of my favorite actors started in the theater, so I was like, seems like a logical first step at least. I'd love to do more of it, but
you did A Streetcar Named Desire, right? Was that one?
I did, yeah. That was in school. That was for one of the director's projects. We like collaborated.
What was that like, taking on such an iconic role?
It was daunting at first, but then quickly. So Ann Bogart, who runs the directing program over there, she sat in a couple of our rehearsals, and she just called me on my stuff and was like, you get this. Like, stop trying to do this in any other way than your way. And I really appreciated that. I was like, oh, okay. She's like you can do this. You're already there. You don't have to keep reaching for something. I was like, oh. And she was like, just have the fight. And I was like, oh, that was good. And then the scene started to really crackle between me and my partner. I built the set for that show too.
Prior to being cast, or
while doing the show, because it was very self-generated, shall we say, with projects over there. So we had to just I wheeled a door from the 130th Street classrooms all the way down to the theater and 116. It was crazy. We put this whole thing together.
Sometimes you got to do what you have to do to make art, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it made me take ownership over it too. I was like, no, it's my house. I live here.
Now, New Amsterdam isn't the first series that you've played an EMT on, correct? What other shows have you been on?
I'd been on Blacklist, not as an EMT though. It's funny. I feel like I'm following Ryan Eggle.
But Stalker alert.
Well, but I played an EMT for The Week Of, the Sandler film that was just on Netflix, and Shades of Blue also.
Right.
Which is funny because I got cut from that episode, and then I found out almost a month later that they canceled the show. So at first I was like, oh man, and then I'm like, oh well, the show's canceled.
Karma, right? No.
Yeah, I know.
Who did you play on the Blacklist?
I was a guard character. I literally die in the first minute of the episode. My family was like, oh, we don't have to watch the whole thing then. I was like, well, that's good.
There's the glass half full.
I was like, thanks, guys.
How did they off you?
Just a bullet-riddled truck. It was a lot of fun to shoot. I'd never done those kind of stunts.
Did you have explosives on you? Or
all the little squib packs. And they rigged this whole truck behind me. And the stunt guys were, of course, these guys from Staten Island who were like, bro, when you hear them, you're not going to have to act. You're just going to cover your head.
Yeah.
They're like, just die up. I was like, why? They're like, so that this doesn't blow off your face. I was like, oh, okay, good.
Not to make you any more nervous than you already were, right?
Yeah. I was like, okay, thank you, sir.
And was that sage advice?
It was actually, yeah. And in the moment, while it was happening really fast, obviously there's all these things going on, but I had enough time to be like, nope, die up, and I just kind of embraced, and the blood spattering everywhere, and just.
I'm sure your parents were very excited to see you get shot like that.
Oh my God.
Probably a little horrifying for them.
My mother was like, why did you tell me to watch this? I was like, well, I'm in it. I thought you'd want to see. She's
all your residuals are going to her therapist, right?
Yeah, the little $3 checks that come, I send them there.
Yeah, $3. That's pretty high for a residual. Right?
I know, right? Yeah. Oh my God.
Now I always make the joke with the actors that I'm interviewing, because we're all New York based. You're not a real actor until you've done a horror film or a Law and Order.
Yeah.
Have you done both?
No, Law and Order. I came close to Law and Order recently, but no. I'm hoping they get somewhere between season. What are they up to, 22?
100. I'd say.
Yeah, something like that. Somewhere in the next 10 seasons, I'll find my way in there. Probably as an EMT.
Yeah. No horror film either?
No.
Wow.
When I was
that's impressive.
When I was in college with a friend, but it was his project for some other thing. It was more like a sci-fi thing. There was aliens involved. I don't actually remember that. The details of it. I gotta go back and find that. That was.
I have to find you a horror film. Break you in a little.
Yeah, I know. I gotta get that.
You heard it here first, folks. Send some offers his way.
Yeah, please.
Now talk a little bit about how your role on New Amsterdam came about.
Yeah, so they just booked me for that one episode, and they were like, yeah, we like Peter, he's good on set, so we'll call him back for more. So I ended up, the season finale was my 4th, so they've had me on 4 episodes.
It's nice to have the same recurring face you see, because why do we need 100 different EMTs when that's not how it is in real life?
Exactly. That was my thing too. I was on set and I was like, when they called me back for that, and I found out that they called back some other EMT roles. I was like, that's great, because that's what it's like. When you're going in and out of hospitals, you get to know the nurses. You see the same people because you work the same shifts.
Right.
So you would have a semi kind of relationship, at least in professional sense
Right.
of like, hey, it's you again. Like, what do you got for me today, kind of thing. And I feel like they really did that justice with a lot of those ER scenes where we're bringing people in. So I appreciated that they're really like committed to doing the real deal.
Did you learn anything working on set that you can apply going forward, or it was kind of standard for what you've already been involved in?
No, I mean, that's a good question. I definitely did learn stuff. I learned a lot watching. I love watching the directors because like that's something I always. I mean, I do direct. I just directed some theater in Florida actually, and I direct a web series that I created.
Oh, we'll talk about that right after.
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Please.
But I'm not like trained in it, so I don't have quite the vocabulary. So I was just sitting there getting to watch these great directors work, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I see how you're getting this coverage. Because now when I do it for myself, I'm like, I struggle sometimes to find the way, and I'm like, oh, you just gave me an idea. So that's been really cool.
Did anybody take you under their wing and help you out on this set?
Well, actually, the season finale was directed by Peter Horton, who's one of the executive producers, and he was very generous in like letting us stand and kind of watch over his shoulder and just like be literally right there. I was hearing the directions he's giving, that kind of thing. So that was really nice. I appreciated that he did that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And now, do you know whether you'll be coming back for next season?
Well,
or in the finale, does like some awful thing happen to you?
I can't say. Like it's a big.
Well, we'll talk off camera.
There's a big thing, but you'll have to watch it. It's
well,
good.
I'll definitely watch it, but we can still chat off camera.
It's good.
So talk about this web series that you were directing. Is it something that you're also starring in? What's it about?
Yeah, so it's called The New Neighborhood. It's a mock documentary series about New York City and New York City neighborhoods. It follows this character Fong, who he's kind of like Anthony Bourdain. He's a good friend of mine, actor friend, and he's kind of playing a version of himself. But he's like the Anthony Bourdain of our show. He goes from neighborhood to neighborhood and kind of meets these characters who live in these neighborhoods and just learns like, what was this neighborhood? How does it change? What do you do? Who are you? Like, how do you fit in this puzzle? And ultimately, he's asking like, what is a New Yorker in 2019 or 2017? Actually, is when we did season 1. We're shooting season 2 right now, so we got a couple more episodes. But
that's exciting. Where can viewers see it?
You could check it out on YouTube or newneighborhoodseries.com.
You're an actor that's coming up in a round of people who have these opportunities to put themselves out there on YouTube, even if it's on Instagram. What has that opened a lot more doors for you that may not have been opened because of the fact that you can create your own content now? Yeah, definitely. I'm always helping friends out with this or that project and jumping around. But it's been nice because it gives you kind of creative ownership over your career. You're not at the mercy of the people with the job, so to speak. You give yourself that work. Right.
And we've had a couple of festivals under our belt with season 1, and
that's
we're
awesome.
Looking forward to doing that with season 2. And I think that's important too, to get to know the other people out there who are the creators, who are like coming up with stuff.
I feel there's not as big of a stigma as there used to be on it now. Like huge movie stars will do Broadway and we'll do TV.
Yeah,
I think all actors are just trying to make a career out of wherever they can find work or put their own work out. And I think it's an exciting time to do that. Yeah,
because you also get to choose what stories to tell. Like you have almost more agency over what stories you're going to be involved with and telling.
Do you think being an actor helps you when you're directing?
100%. Yeah, totally. I mean,
is it a double-edged sword though, because you may go by how you would portray something, or do you have to look at it, or do you look at it? Maybe not objectively isn't the right word.
But I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, a little bit more as a third eye kind of thing.
Yeah.
I go back and forth. Like, I can understand the role through my way in, and then I try to articulate it to myself, and then I go about translating it to the actor, and then if they don't get that, then it's a matter of like, for me, it would be X, Y, and Z, and not necessarily showing them or spoon-feeding them anything, but just kind of, self-digesting in front of them, and then they're like, oh, okay, maybe I found a way into that. But for the most part, I write a lot of the parts for the actors that play them, so I really try to cater to their strengths, and like,
So you also write the projects
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
hats to take on.
It is. I mean, thankfully, my fiance is the showrunner, and she also does the editing. So between the two of us,
That's
we've
awesome.
we've got a little, production team going, and then we work with these other two filmmakers. One's a DP and one's our line producer,
Mhm.
and they're also actors. So I wrote them parts, so they're in the show. So we just jump around on
Trade
set.
off, yeah.
It's a
That's
lot of
awesome.
fun. It's a lot of fun. And obviously, it's been important to tell stories that are even more inclusive these days, and like really, I wrote the project to sort of highlight what I love about the city, which is that like everybody's welcome here,
Mhm.
one way or the other. Everybody's welcome here. Like there's a neighborhood for you.
That's
know,
right.
Like,
That's right.
You live, and everybody lives somewhere. So it's just like, let's go find them. Let's go
Mhm.
see who these people are.
Do you have a love for one over the other? Like acting is equal? Do you thrive off of different parts of each to make yourself a whole?
I think that's really what it is, because I teach acting actually. I teach at Hunter College, and through that I've gotten a lot of kind of directing chops.
Mhm.
Just by nature of the fact that you're teaching an actor a role
Yeah.
sometimes, right? Like that's I think what really good directors do. And so by doing that more and more and more, I was like, oh, maybe I actually could direct theater, because theater directing, that always daunted me for some reason, like way more than doing the web series.
Mhm.
I don't know why. I was just like, I felt like I couldn't do it. But I just did my first professional show in January down in Miami. There's this great theater. They're called Miami New Drama, and they had me direct a production of Antigone that I had been in
Mhm.
a couple of years ago to kind of reimagine it and bring it to public schools
Mhm.
for free. They did like performances for almost 10,000 kids for free, totally free for the schools, and then they had their donors kind of pay the way. So it was kind of like a Tom Shoes model. They would do like a performance for a small group of people who donated and made possible the school shows.
Mhm.
So it was an important project. I was really glad that it worked out the way it did. But I learned a lot doing that I've tried to bring into the directing role on camera.
In terms of being a teacher and also directing, do you feel like you're becoming a mentor / therapist for some of the actors? Are you using your experience to help them?
Yeah.
And who were some people in your life that did the same for you? I mean, I know you're not
Yeah.
old by any stretch of the imagination, but coming up.
You're really hitting on something, because I had those people.
Mhm.
I find it even more important to be that person for some of my students, and I definitely have that kind of relationship where they're always coming up after class to ask me questions, and I'm
Yeah.
like, guys, this is great, like keep it coming, let's find a time to chat though, because I gotta run to the next one or whatever. But I love that, because I had those people, and like for me, and he's my boss at Hunter actually, but Gregory Mosier, who's a director, two-time Tony Award winner, he used to run Lincoln Center for a while and that kind of
Mhm.
thing, but he's been a great mentor to me, not just as an actor, but as a director too. He directed the original production of Antigone that I was in, and I learned so much just being in that room with him, and he kind of gave me the confidence to go forward with the next wave of the project, and I was like, I don't know if I could do this. He's like, no, you can, you're ready, like, you understand it, you're ready. Just pushing
Yeah,
me
absolutely.
further than I
You're
thought.
paying it forward.
Yeah, and the kind of caliber of actor that he's worked with, everybody from Joe Mantegna to, I don't know, name it, he probably has worked with him, but it just gave me confidence to be like, oh wow, like, if he thinks I can do this thing, then I probably can do this thing.
Yeah.
It's important to have those opportunities and those people. But the other great mentors in my life have honestly been like friends, and people I'm coming up with.
Mhm.
I always learn a lot from them. And it's really great to watch people kind of blossom, and it inspires me to just keep going.
Mhm.
That's it. Just keep going, and like whatever the next thing is, the next thing is.
Since obviously none of us have seen the finale,
Yeah.
what are you going to be doing? We're going to call it your hiatus, and hopefully
Well,
not your finale. But what are you
yeah.
going to be working on while you're on break from filming? Besides your web series, are you
Yeah.
thinking of putting up your own productions of anything?
Yeah, so I'm directing the students actually at Hunter in a show over the summer.
Oh, very
so
cool.
that'll be fun.
Yeah.
We're doing Brecht, Caucasian Chalk Circle, which again is very daunting to me, but I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's a good thing, right? Maybe it's a good thing when we find something that challenges us. We just, let's make it work. And if
When
it
you're
fails,
directing, does it make you want to jump on stage and get back into theater yourself?
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, and you know, I still pursue theater as much as film and TV, but you know,
That's one of the great things of being in New York is that you can put your own
yeah,
show up for a relatively inexpensive amount of money because there's so many theater companies and so many venues and spaces in the city that you could.
Yeah, it's really accessible here in ways that, like, I know my LA friends are like, yeah, there's like 3 theaters here, and you can't get into any of them because they hire New York actors. And,
right.
You know, I'm like, oh man, I would hate to live there. Like, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know.
What's a part you'd love to play on stage?
Probably The Little Flower of East Orange. It's a Stephen Adly Gurgis play. The lead role, Danny, is just this great character.
What speaks to you about that role?
Well, because he just feels very New York. He's just very of the same ilk as me. Like I understand him on a chemical level. Like, yeah, and Stephen's plays are beautiful. They're just like grit and poetry, and that's where I feel like that's where I thrive. Like somewhere in there.
You seem very poised and chill and down to earth.
Yeah.
Have you played a part that has been like polar opposite, where you really had to nail some work down for it?
Yeah. I think back to a lot of the more like physical roles that I've done, like more physical comedy kind of stuff. Which, when people first get to know me, they're either really surprised by that or they're not surprised at all. They're like, "Oh yeah, no, you do that. I can totally see that." But then some people are like, "Wait, slapstick?" I worked on Godot in graduate school. That was a big challenge, just to find that physicality and those kinds of clown characters. I love that work.
Yeah.
Like play that goes wrong. I'll find my way.
Noises
into
off, that kind of thing.
Yeah, noises off.
That's a great show.
Yeah. I love that stuff.
It's hard to do physical comedy, and like you gotta have timing.
Yeah.
It's one thing, and I'm saying this as a stereotypical gay man, to be sarcastic and bitchy and funny, but then there's also trying to like have the timing, you know what I mean? So,
totally. It's technical. There's all the technical elements of it more so than any other genre. And when I work comedy with students, it feels like I'm taking the wind out of their sails because I'm like, okay, guys, so here's how we make this moment work, and we dissect it, and they're like, oh, well, that seems kind of like really bland and technical, and then they try it, it works, and we're like, right? Do you see? So it's just about the approach and the specificity that comes with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Peter, thank you so much for taking time to meet up with me. It's been a real pleasure interviewing you. I hope to interview you again, maybe do a little on-set piece for the web series, and we'll meet up again.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Peter.